Good morning. Here we are. It's a Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. End of the month. We'll be halfway through 2020 already. Amazing, isn't it? Jan, good to see you. Hope you got out early this morning to work in your yard because I think it's going to get pretty warm today. It was hot yesterday, so Melissa, good to see you. Continue to pray for Bobby and his knee. So, Becky, good to see you. Carol, Nelson, Julie, Miss Joyce, glad you're here. Had that wonderful dentist appointment yesterday. Yeah, pray for the Ricks. In line of a hurricane coming. Welcome to 2020, right? Robin, glad you're on here. Brian, all the way over there in the Meeker area. So, Miss Shannon and Paula, glad you guys are on here today. Miss Venna, we pray for you guys. And Teresa showed me your message, and we'll just keep praying for you. God knows. Kosha, happy birthday. So, glad you're on here. I saw that you have the same birthday as your mother-in-law. So, Carol might be on here later too. So, happy birthday to her. And Miss Amy, glad you're on here. So, all right. So, I was watching, I read yesterday the health order that our potentate governor is planning on passing out to the churches here soon, and said that hey, Robert's on there. Robert, we'll pray for you. My mother-in-law Sherry. Hi Sherry. I'll behave today. I won't give any mother-in-law jokes today. So anyway, I was reading the health order and what Polis is planning to do for churches, and you can run 25% capacity of your building with no more than 50 people in the building. So he's lost his mind. Sorry, but he has. So anyway, I was just thought I'd share this interesting tidbit of information from history, and I think I need to go back and read this. I didn't read much of world history, but when the French Revolution took place, they had riots in Paris, and it was a real mess. And so the king told his palace guards, stand down and show the rioters that we want peace. And you know what the rioters did? They went in, they killed the guards, and it said that they even took some of the guards, cooked them, put them on a fire, roasted them, and ate them. And then they busted into the palace and beheaded the king and the queen. And so I think we need to, there's peaceful protests, and then there's idiots that are rioting. And you cannot, you're not going to be able to sit down with those that are rioters and think that you're going to be able to argue common sense with them. The only thing that works with that kind of evil is you deal with it with a force. And I think it's crazy. But you know what else in the French Revolution, I wrote some things down, is during that time, all the churches were ordered closed. And as a matter of fact, Christianity was deemed illegal. It was outlawed. And they brought in a naked prostitute and crowned her the goddess of reason. And then they were able to sneak the kids out of the palace and save those kids, but the Paris was a mess for a number of years, and it led to the Napoleon coming in and being the dictator. So crazy times, and it's a crazy time right now in our world. And the thing that we need to realize is, and I mentioned this Sunday, is that these characters are blinded and just wicked in their thoughts, but I sometimes I think George Soros is given far more credit than he deserves in all this junk. And yeah, I think George Soros needs to trust Christ and get his heart right, or he's going to spend an eternity in hell. But I think we give him too much credit. But I can tell you that the author of all of this mess is the devil. And we need to understand the spiritual battle that's going on during this time. And how do you win a spiritual battle? Well, you have to fight spiritually. And you have to put on the armor of God, and you have to trust the Lord, and you got to walk in his power, and you need to do the things that God's wanting us to go. And those are the things that we need to be doing. And just in this time, for all of us, we need to be safe out there. We need to be careful. Ladies, just pay attention when you're walking out to your car, and if you carry keys, carry the keys in your hand, and always stick a key in between your fingers, so it's sticking out, and so you can poke somebody, or you just need to be careful all the time. And I think we're past the point in this world where we can leave our cars unlocked and the keys in the car and the doors unlocked, and we need to be careful and not scared, but we need to be careful of what we're doing. And so we need to understand that. And so I woke up thinking on some of these things, and I even asked myself a question. What do we do in times of unrest? And man, we are in a time of unrest. And what have we been doing? What have you been doing? And so I was thinking about David, and I've been preaching through the life of David on Sunday nights, and was thinking on that again. And we're dealing with a time right now where David had to flee from Absalom, who had brought up a revolt against him, and we see that just a hard time in David's life, and there's some things I want to point out about that too as we get into that and give some thought. But so he hears that Absalom is bringing this revolt against him and going to march in on him, and we know that David just packs up and leaves. And that's not who David was. And it might have been when he was young and he was running from Saul, but he's a king now and had a lot of power. But if you remember, when he had committed the adultery with Bathsheba, God told him, he said, I'm not going to kill you, but there is going to be a time when your throne is going to be your throne is going to be overthrown, and it's going to be a public embarrassment. And I think that always just sat there in the back of David's mind, and now he sees that it's happening, and it's going to happen with his own son. And I just never believed that. And this is my own perception of the reading, and you can go back and read that. You ought to, 2 Samuel 13 through chapter 18. I just don't think that David was afraid of Absalom. I think David knew what God had said, and that always sat there in the back of his mind. And he knew this was going to come, and he knew that if he stayed and fought, he'd actually be fighting against God and against God's will. And so I think he was being submissive to God in this. And also I think something else we need to look at is being his son and not wanting to confront him. And I think he left. And I think we can learn a lesson from that, guys, that sometimes and with all this mess, you just want to stand up and you want to fight. And you said, this is it, and however, maybe the thing we need to do is do everything we can possible to have peace. But when the fight comes to us and we have done everything we can to hold peace, then and have peace, then you fight. And we don't lay down our arms and like the French king and let everybody die. We're not doing that. But I'm saying that, look at David, and you look later on in David. Remember when he tells his commanders and all the army, he said, "You guys be kind to Absalom." That there was never a time in David's conversation where it looked like David was afraid they were going to lose the battle. When I read that, it just, David knew that if this is going to come, then I'm going to win the battle. But he tried to avoid that as much as he could. And I might, like I said, may all be wrong, okay? But I think he was having some terrible turmoil going on in his life, and there was definitely a serious testing going on and some major unrest in his life. But the thing that I wanted to focus on just for a few minutes is when David was in that time of unrest, and he did flee, and he went into Judah to hide out and to do that. You know what his response was? Well, I started looking, and don't hold me to the factual of all of this, but I believe that these are the Psalms that David wrote during the time that he ran from Absalom. From the beginning, when he heard that Absalom was revolting, all the way through the end when he came back into Jerusalem and set his throne back up. And I looked at a chronological Bible, and so these aren't in order here, but look at this. Psalm 62, Psalm 41, Psalm 3, 26, 7, 63, 61, 22, 14, 5, 53, 4, 42, 43, 55, 71, 28, 143, 40, 70, 27, 69, 120, 121, 9, 10, 27, 122, 29, 92, 66, and Psalm 100. Now, you go back and read some of those, and you guys could find this too. Go on the internet and try to find, just ask, what Psalms did David write during the time he was fleeing from Absalom, and you can find most of those. But here's what Psalm 3 says, and this is the attitude that David had, and that's what I like. I like what I see in Psalms, because the Psalms actually show us the heart of David, and then when you can actually take that psalm and place it where we know this is the time that he wrote it, in this time, and this was in his time of trials and times of turmoil. This was his attitude during this time. It says, "Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me." This is Psalm 3. "Many there be which say of my soul, there is no help for him in God. But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory and the lifter up of my head. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill. I laid me down and slept. I awaked, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for thou hast smitten all mine enemies upon the cheekbone. Thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongeth unto the Lord. Thy blessing is upon thy people." I mean, you go into these. Psalm 4 starts off, "Hear me when I call, O Lord," and I mean, you just see him all the time crying out to God. And so his first response in this time of trial and all this turmoil, his first thing he does is he goes to God and he cries out, "Hey God, here's my grievance. Here's the things that's going on. These are the things that are scaring me. These are the things that are upsetting. These are the things that bring anger. These are the things that are bringing the anxiety or depression or whatever else. All these things that are going on, and so we just see his response through all of this, and we just see such a godly response, and he wasn't he wasn't perfect in the things that he did, but we just see the the heart of David in all of this, and that's what we need to be. That's what I need to be. I need to, instead of getting angry first thing and thinking, lock and load and let's run over the rioters, and I find that sad. I do. I mean the turmoil in our country right now. I don't know if you guys saw this. They went in and vandalized the Lincoln Memorial. They went over and vandalized and tried to tear up the World War II Memorial in D.C. I mean, if you guys have ever seen all that stuff, I mean, it's just, that's our country. That's who we are. And, and you see this stuff and you just think, how long do we let this happen? And we just need to run to God and just quit being so angry. Our world is angry, and Christians just don't need to be angry. We need to, not saying we won't, that we can always have victory over that. We won't. There are things to be angry about. I'm angry over what they did there, but let's not act on that. Let justice take care of that. Let God take care of that. And we just need to keep doing what we're doing. It is a spiritual battle, and people can say what they want. Our governor he can say what he wants, but in his heart, he hates what we stand for because he hates God. I mean, he is adamantly against God because God keeps showing him that his lifestyle and the things that he's doing is ungodly, and he hates that, and he would be happy to be like the French revolutionists that made it illegal to worship God, and I could see him doing that kind of stuff. So, and hey, God's got it. God's going to take care of him too. And so it's a little shorter today, but it's just my thoughts for the day that, what do we do in times of trial? What do we do in times of unrest? We need to go to God and read those Psalms. And, it's amazing to see what, I read many of those this morning, and how he just cries out to God and looks to him and trusts him. And even in times when he finds out even some of his good friends turned on him, it's what we need to do. Just have a peaceful heart. And Satan doesn't want that. Satan doesn't want us to have a peaceful heart whatsoever, but God can give that to us, and we need to live for him. And justice will come. We just need to keep doing what we're doing. And if we do everything we can to avoid the fight and it still comes to us, then we stand. And until then, we just keep doing what God wants us to do. Let's live for him. And see you guys, those around here, we'll see you guys tomorrow night. And Lord bless you today. Have a great day, and just keep looking up. God's coming. Have a good one.